You're lying in the dark, phone in hand, swiping through faces you will never meet, in a room where no one can see you, making decisions about human beings in under a second. You have done this hundreds of times and found nothing. This is not a you problem. But for 99% of human history, finding a partner was not a private algorithm you ran alone in the dark. It was a public performance. And failing it didn't mean another lonely night. It meant being removed from the gene pool entirely. For most of human history, the mating market was not a screen. It was the campfire. And the thing that won you a partner there would never show up on a dating profile. The Agta are an indigenous hunter-gatherer population in the Philippines whose ancestors have lived without accumulated wealth for over 35,000 years. In their world, no money, no property, no social media. Something else determined who had children and who didn't. Researchers tracking reproductive outcomes across the entire population measured it precisely. Skilled storytellers had 0.53 more living children than unskilled ones. 0.53. That translates to a 20 to 30% reproductive advantage. Published in Nature Communications in 2017 by a researcher at University College London, Daniel Smith, it is one of the most specific pieces of evidence for what the ancient mating market actually ran on. Your ability to hold 50 people's attention around a fire was the most bankable asset a human being could possess. But here is the part that surprises people. It was not about entertainment. In a world where seasonal starvation and disease threatened every child born into the group, no mother raised an infant alone. She needed food shared from neighbors when the hunt failed. She needed extra hands when she was sick. She needed people who would prioritize her child's survival over their own hunger. Skilled storytellers were chosen as campmates because their stories regulated the group. They encoded the rules of cooperation, reminded the band who they were and what they owed each other. Analysis of 89 stories from 7 different hunter-gatherer societies found that 70% were directly concerned with one thing, not drama, not legend, social rules. The storyteller was not just popular, they were structurally necessary, and everyone around that fire knew it. Storytelling was not the only currency. Before a word was even spoken, the ancient mating market was reading you. And you were dressing for it 142,000 years ago. In a cave on the southwest coast of Morocco called Bizmoune, archaeologists found 33 pierced sea snail shells stained red with ochre and worn smooth by a string. 142,000 years old. These were not tools. They were not food. They were an outfit. Someone walked to the coast, collected these shells, carried them back, spent hours drilling holes through each one, strung them on a cord, and wore them every single day. The wear patterns on the holes confirm continuous use. This was not occasional decoration. Broadcasting your identity was a daily necessity in a world where an encounter with a stranger could mean a new ally, a new mate, or your death. Prior to this find, the earliest known personal ornamentation had been dated to roughly 76,000 years ago. Bizmoune pushed that back by 66,000 years. Think about what that means for you right now. The concept of dressing to impress, the outfit you choose before a date, the way you present yourself on a profile, is not modern vanity. It is a survival instinct 142,000 years in the making. The beads broadcast identity, availability, and social standing silently to strangers from neighboring bands whose language you did not speak. Before agriculture, before cities, before any form of currency existed, a human being already understood that how you presented yourself to the world determined the quality of partner the world offered back. The difference between those outcomes was determined in the first few seconds of contact, before you said a single word. Here is the part that rewrites everything you assumed. The popular assumption about early human mating goes like this. The biggest, most aggressive male dominated the group, controlled the resources, and took his pick of mates. Physical dominance was the master currency, and most people, if they think about it honestly, still carry this picture. That picture is wrong, and the evidence that dismantles it is not from one study. It is from decades of fieldwork across forager societies on every inhabited continent, synthesized in a 1999 book called Hierarchy in the Forest. The finding is one of the most consistent in all of anthropology. Hunter-gatherer bands did not tolerate aggressive upstarts. They had a system for dealing with them, and it escalated in 5 deliberate stages. It began with gossip, subtle shifts in communal attitude, back-channel criticism, then open ridicule, public mockery of anyone attempting to dominate, then disobedience, explicitly ignoring commands from anyone who tried to act as a self-appointed authority. then social distancing, active ostracism, refusal to share food, shelter, or protection, and if none of those worked, execution. The entire band coordinated to permanently remove the persistent tyrant from the group. This was documented across dozens of independent societies. It was systematic, consistent, and cross-cultural. For 300,000 years, being a physically aggressive bully was not a mating strategy. It was the fastest way to be removed from the gene pool by the very group you were trying to dominate. The humans who reproduced were the ones the group collectively decided were worth keeping, the cooperative ones, the fair ones, the ones who made others feel seen. The storyteller at the fire wasn't surviving despite the alpha. He was surviving instead of him. And so the real competition was not physical, it was acoustic. Your voice, right now the way it sounds when you speak, is carrying biological information about your immune system, your testosterone levels, and your genetic quality. It was doing this 300,000 years ago too, and the people around the fire were reading it. Research on the Hadza people of Tanzania, one of the last full-time foraging populations on Earth, living in the exact geographic region where our species first emerged, measured this directly. Researchers recorded the voices of 49 men across 9 camps speaking a single word. Then they checked how many children each man had. Men with deeper voices had significantly more children. The correlation accounted for more than half of the variance in reproductive success. More than half. Explained by the depth of a single word. This is not arbitrary. Deep voice pitch is driven by testosterone, which physically lengthens and thickens the vocal cords during puberty. High testosterone is metabolically expensive and suppresses the immune system. Only men with genuinely robust immune function can sustain it without getting sick. The deep voice is an honest, biologically unforgeable signal of genetic quality. Without bank accounts or property deeds, that signal was the resume. And it was written in hormones, and the arena where all of this played out, the storytelling, the voice, the shell beads, the reputation, was documented in extraordinary detail by an anthropologist at the University of Utah named Wiessner, who spent decades in the field with the Jew/Huansi Bushmen of the Kalahari. She recorded and transcribed 174 conversations, day and night, and catalogued every exchange. During the day, economic disputes, conflict over fairness, direct criticism of community members. At night around the fire, everything changed. 81% of all conversation shifted to stories. Not gossip, not arguments, not planning. Stories, tales of distant groups, journeys across unfamiliar territory, accounts of people doing impossible things, myths about the sky and the earth that wove the band's identity into something shared and lasting. And as the storyteller spoke, the audience leaned forward and whispered soft, rhythmic affirmations. Hey, hey, keeping the cadence alive, their breath syncing with the speaker's rhythm. 50 people in complete darkness, synchronized by one voice. That fire circle was where reputations were built over months and years, where the group quietly, collectively decided who was worth choosing. That was the mating market, no algorithm required. The largest analysis of dating app psychology ever published came out in 2026. 26,068 participants, 23 studies, 17 years of data. The conclusion was unambiguous. Dating app users showed significantly worse mental health outcomes across every single metric measured. Depression, anxiety, loneliness, psychological distress, all of it worse compared to people who met partners through traditional social networks. 1 in 4 online interactions now ends in ghosting, and the reason is not that the apps are poorly designed. The reason is that they are a total architectural mismatch with the environment the human brain evolved to navigate. For 300,000 years, mate selection happened inside a dense, multi-generational social matrix. You evaluated potential partners over extended periods of time. You observed how they behaved under pressure. You heard how they told stories. You listened to what others said about them when they were not present. The entire community participated in validating or questioning the choice. The same community that would help raise the child if the choice was right. The app strips all of that away and replaces it with a face and a swipe. Your nervous system cannot tell the difference between being ghosted on a dating app and being socially excluded from the group that controls your food supply. Both trigger the same biological alarm. Both register as a threat to survival. The app was engineered for engagement metrics. Your brain was built for a fire circle. Those two things are not slightly misaligned. They are fundamentally incompatible. And the data now confirms what your body has probably been trying to tell you for years.